David Hale hadn't set an alarm for 4:30 a.m. in 15 years. CEOs didn't do that. They had assistants, schedules, and drivers. But today, he was breaking his own rules. Marigold Springs was silent under pre-dawn fog. Frost clung to windows as David parked behind Sunloaf Bakery number 247. This small-town branch, unrenovated, unadvertised, was outperforming every other store in the chain. Sales up 47%, zero marketing budget, zero corporate support. Something extraordinary was happening here. He checked his disguise in the rearview mirror. Fake beard, baseball cap, name tag, Dave Trainee. Ridiculous, but necessary. The Undercover initiative was meant to reveal what the company's reports couldn't. The smell hit him the moment he opened the back door. Warm butter, cinnamon, and something honest. It wasn't the sterile Sunloaf scent pumped through every franchise vent. This was real. Inside, under harsh fluorescent light, a woman whisked batter by hand. She moved like someone who had done this forever. Precise, rhythmic, unbothered by his presence. Dark hair tied back, flower on her forearms, eyes focused. Hi, David ventured. Dave, new delivery trainee. Lila, she said, not looking up. You're early. Sam doesn't get here until 6. David lingered, watching her mix by hand despite the industrial mixer sitting and used nearby. Corporate policy demanded automation, yet this woman ignored it completely. What are you making? He asked. Blueberry muffins. We have a recipe for those, he offered, half smiling. Want to pull it up? Lila paused, finally meeting his eyes, guarded, defensive. I know what I'm doing. Then, softer, the oven's temperamental. Don't trust the display. When the first tray came out, David was transfixed. The muffins were golden, steam curling like a promise. Can I try one? He asked. She handed one over, still hot. The first bite stopped him cold. Real fruit, tender crumb, warmth that tasted like memory. His grandmother's kitchen, before Sunloaf became an empire. This is, he struggled, incredible. Lila's expression softened. Thank you. It's the standard recipe, he pressed. It's my recipe, she said firmly. But you can check the sales if you don't believe me. He did believe her, and that terrified him. What she made violated every Sunloaf rule about consistency, yet it was the best thing he'd ever eaten. Sam, the branch manager, arrived later, a friendly man in his 60s. David shook his hand, still thinking of that notebook beside Lila, filled with handwritten recipes. By nightfall, David had scoured every digital record for an explanation. Nothing. The system showed perfect compliance, standard ingredients, standard recipes. All lies. Someone was manually falsifying data to hide whatever was happening in that kitchen. Her personnel file told the story. Excellent performance. Never absent. Request to modify recipe. Denied. She'd asked once, then ignored them forever. Instead of anger, David felt awe. He returned the next morning at 5 a.m., thought I'd learned the prep routine, he said. You're a delivery driver, Lila replied flatly. You don't need to learn baking. But she didn't chase him off. Not entirely. During lunch, David tested the waters with Sam. She's been here a while? For years. Hardest worker I've ever seen. Never takes a day off. This place was dying before she came. Does she talk about her family? Sam's tone hardened. Why do you ask? Just curious. Don't be. Lila doesn't like conversation. Later, while she helped a customer, David slipped into the kitchen. The notebook was open, handwritten recipes, some decades old, signed Miriam Lair. Footsteps. Lila entered, eyes sharp, looking for something? Just checking flour levels. She didn't believe him. Quietly, she slid the notebook into her apron pocket. That night, David searched the archives for Miriam Lair. Nothing. No record, no employee file. Erased. The next morning, he brought Sam coffee and asked carefully, You ever know someone named Miriam Lair? Sam froze. Why? Heard the name. Sam sighed. Yeah, Miriam worked for Sunloaf back in the 80s. Genius baker. Your boss's grandfather, Thomas Hale, trained her. She made half the recipes his company built its name on. David's pulse quickened. What happened to her? Corporate politics, Sam said bitterly. When your father took over, he hired Richard Voss to run operations. Voss accused Miriam of stealing recipes. Lies, if you ask me. Got her fired. The company wiped her name from history. David's stomach sank. She was the real deal, Sam continued. Best we ever had. Is Lila her daughter? Sam looked away. Let go, kid. That girl's been through enough. But David couldn't. He finally understood. Lila was protecting her mother's stolen legacy. A week later, a storm hit Marigold Springs. Rain hammered the bakery's roof, flooding the alley, storage rooms leaking. Lila shouted, "We need to move the dry goods." They worked side by side in the downpour, dragging sacks of flour to higher shelves. When a crate collapsed, glass shattered, and her notebook splashed into the water. No! David helped her scoop it up, pages bleeding ink. Inside, he saw the signature, M. Lair 1985, and a photo of a young woman with Lila's eyes, smiling in front of an oven. That's her, he said softly. Your mother? Lila froze. How do you know that name? Sam told me about what happened. Her voice turned sharp. Then you know enough to stay out of it. He didn't. Your mother created recipes that built this company. Someone erased her, and you're bringing her back. Who are you? She demanded, suspicion rising. David stumbled. His cover was cracking. I can see it matters to you. It's all I have left, she said quietly, holding the notebook close. She died 3 years ago. Cancer. Before she passed, she made me promise to keep her recipes alive. She said, they took my name, but they can't take what I created. So I came here to prove she mattered. Tears glimmered in her eyes. I know it's against policy. I know I could get fired. But these recipes save this branch. Doesn't that count for something? David wanted to tell her the truth, that he was the CEO, that he could fix everything. But he couldn't. Not yet. 3 days later, an email arrived. Subject, branch number 247, compliance review required. His assistant, Jennifer, had noticed discrepancies in ingredient orders and production data. She was sending an audit team. Monday morning. David could stop it with one email, but the Undercover program had strict ethics. No interference. If he stepped in now, it would be corruption. He drove to the bakery early. Lila was frantic, baking nonstop. Her mother's notebook spread open like scripture. Then Sam pulled her aside. Corporate's sending an audit, he warned. I've been careful, she said. Careful's not enough. Maybe use the company recipes for a bit. I can't, she whispered. If I stop, it's like saying she never existed. David heard everything. That day, he watched her bake with desperate intensity, as if time itself was running out. That night, he called Jennifer. About the audit. He began carefully. Yeah, she said. The data's a mess. Someone's clearly doing their own thing. Don't worry, we'll find out who. And if you do, termination. We can't have branches going rogue. Her logic was sound. Corporate logic always was. But David couldn't shake the taste of that muffin, or the look on Lila's face. He hung up, staring at the dark bakery outside his window. For days left. For days to choose between the empire he'd built and the truth his company had buried. The audit team arrived on Monday at exactly 9 a.m. 2 black sedans, a clipboard brigade, and a woman in a corporate gray suit leading them like soldiers. Lila froze the moment she saw them. Her hands, usually steady, trembled slightly as she wiped flour off her apron. Relax, Sam murmured. You've done nothing wrong. But she had, at least by corporate standards. David, still Dave the trainee, stood in the corner, heart pounding. He recognized the lead auditor instantly, Jennifer Kane, his chief compliance officer. Brilliant, ruthless, and loyal to the company's bottom line. Morning, Jennifer said crisply, We're here for a routine audit. Sam nodded nervously. Of course, anything you need. Lila kept her head down, continuing to knead dough. But when Jennifer approached her workstation, her movements slowed. "Name." "Lila Lair," she said softly. Jennifer scribbled on her clipboard. "You oversee production?" "Yes." "Do you follow the official recipe database?" "I do," Lila lied, voice steady. "Good. We'll need to cross-check your logs with digital records." Lila nodded, her knuckles white against the dough. David couldn't take it anymore. He slipped into the back room, pretending to unload flour, but actually pulling out his phone to text Jennifer. "And the audit now. I'll explain later." Her reply came instantly. "Can't. Orders came from you, remember?" He cursed silently. He'd authorized these random audits months ago to prevent exactly the kind of non-compliance Lila was guilty of. Now it was being used against the one person who didn't deserve it. Jennifer's voice rang from the kitchen. "Excuse me, Ms. Lair. What's this?" David hurried back in time to see her holding the notebook, Lila's mother's legacy, open in her hands. "It's just old notes," Lila stammered, stepping forward. "These are proprietary modifications to Sunloaf recipes," Jennifer said coldly. "Unauthorized alterations are a direct breach of Corporate Policy 7.1.8. You know what that means." David's throat tightened. Termination. Lila looked cornered but proud. "Those recipes save this place," she said quietly. "You can check the numbers. Sales tripled because of what's in that book." Jennifer barely blinked. "That's irrelevant. Compliance protects the brand. If every store did what you did, Sunloaf would collapse into chaos." "Maybe chaos is better than mediocrity," Lila whispered. Jennifer's tone sharpened. "You're finished here, Ms. Lair. You'll receive formal notice by the end of the day." Lila didn't plead. She didn't cry. She simply closed her notebook, wrapped in a towel, and set on the counter. "I understand." David's fists clenched. He'd built this system, this cold, efficient machine that crushed individuality in the name of profit. And now it was destroying the one thing still human in his company. He couldn't stay silent. "Jennifer," he said quietly. She glanced at him, frowning. "You're the delivery trainee, right? Please step aside." David reached up and pulled off his cap. Then the beard. Jennifer froze. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "Sir?" she whispered. Lila's brow furrowed. "What's happening?" David straightened. "I'm David Hale, CEO of Sunloaf Industries." The room fell silent. Even the oven seemed to pause. Jennifer's clipboard dropped. Sam's mouth fell open. Lila just stared. Shock, anger, confusion all flickering across her face. "You been spying on us?" she asked, voice shaking. "I came to see why this store was different," he said softly. "And now I know. It's you." Jennifer found her voice. "Sir, this branch has committed multiple compliance violations. I strongly recommend we—" "Stop." David cut in. "No one's getting fired." "Sir," I said, "stop." His voice carried authority that silenced everyone. He turned to Lila. "You broke the rules, yes. But you did to honor something real. Your mother's recipes built this company. You deserve credit, not punishment." Jennifer hesitated. "With respect, sir, that's not how we operate." "Then maybe it's time we change how we operate." The words hung in the air, heavy and final. An hour later, the auditors were gone. Sam locked the front doors. Lila stood near the counter, arms crossed, notebook pressed against her chest. "So what now?" she asked quietly. "You expose me, then rescue me? Is this some kind of test?" "No," David said. "This is me admitting I was wrong." She laughed bitterly. "People like you don't admit that. I didn't used to." He gestured to the bakery around them. "My father turned this company into a machine. Everything automated, standardized, lifeless. I followed in his footsteps because I thought that's what success looked like. But when I tasted your muffin, I remembered what this was supposed to be: family, craft, warmth." Lila's eyes softened slightly. "Your mother," he continued, "was erased because my company valued control over creativity. That ends today." She studied him for a long moment. "And what are you going to do about it?" He smiled faintly. "First, I'm reinstating your mother's name. Every Sunloaf location will know who Miriam Lair was. Her recipes, her story, all comes back. Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them away. And me? I want you to lead something new, he said. A division dedicated to authentic baking. No digital recipes, no frozen dough. Real ingredients, real people. Call it Project Lair. Lila was speechless. You're serious? Completely? She looked down at her flour-dusted hands, then at him. Why me? Because you care enough to defy me, he said simply. And I need people like that. The storm outside had passed, sunlight spilling through the bakery windows, catching dust motes like stars. After a long silence, Lila finally smiled. All right, Mr. CEO, but I'm keeping my notebook. David chuckled. I wouldn't dare take it. 6 months later, the new Sunloaf Heritage line launched in 3 pilot cities. No machines, no prepackaged dough, just handcrafted recipes inspired by Miriam Lair's originals. Sales skyrocketed. Reviews poured in calling it the soul of baking restored. At the grand reopening of the Marigold Springs branch, cameras flashed as David took the stage beside Lila. The company's new slogan glowed behind them, baked by hands, remembered by heart. He cleared his throat. This company was built on people who cared enough to do things the right way, not the easy way. One of them was Miriam Lair. Today, we honor her name and the daughter who kept her legacy alive when the rest of us forgot. Applause erupted. Lila, blushing, raised her mother's notebook high. Later, as the crowd dispersed, she approached David quietly. You didn't have to do all this. I did, he said. It's what your mother deserved, and what you earned. She tilted her head. So what's next for the great David Hale? He smiled. Maybe learn how to bake without burning the croissants. She laughed. We'll see about that. That night, when the bakery finally emptied, David lingered alone by the ovens. The smell of blueberry muffins filled the air, the same scent that changed everything. On the wall hung a new plaque. In loving memory of Miriam Lair, 1958 to 2022. Her recipes built this company. Her daughter reminded us why. David ran his fingers over the engraved letters, a quiet smile forming. Sometimes empires didn't fall through rebellion. Sometimes they were rebuilt, one honest muffin at a time.